This is your host, Pete Moore, and I am pleased and humbled to announce the launch of my one and only book, Time to Win Again. 52 takeaways from playing and watching team sports to ensure your business success. Those of you who know me personally, and anyone who listens to Halo Talks for any length of time, know that I am an avid sports fan and a big believer in the value of team sports. What I've seen over the past 25 years helping businesses grow, raising capital, being an entrepreneur myself, and coaching and mentoring executives in the sector, it's the lessons learned on the field perfectly apply to business. Entrepreneurs, executives, managers, you name it. Every company that's a strong company has got a good team. It's a quick read. There's awesome illustrations in there from our good friend Mark at Cruelty Free Cartoons. If you go to integritysq.com, enter your email address, and we will send you information on the book and the Entrepreneur's Survival Kit as well. Be great. Take names. Go Halo.
This is Halo Talks NYC on location, Dallas, Texas, URSA 2021. I had the pleasure of having Anthony Wall, American Council on Exercise, live, in person, wearing his headset.
With no mask on today.
With no mask on, and we are socially distanced as far as we can distance ourselves with these microphones. So why don't you give your career background, personal background, why you're passionate about the space, and why you got into the Halo sector is your lifelong initiative.
Passion. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And, people will know straight away by my accent that I'm not originally from the States. I grew up overseas. My dad worked for the British government. I got exposed to outdoor activity very early on in my life and grew up loving athletics and running and doing things in outdoors. So as I got into college and university, I kind of developed that liking for maybe being in a sport and working in the sports industry. And for me at the time, it was the sports industry. Over the years, that narrowed down till I got into fitness. And I came over to the U.S. to go to grad school, San Diego State, go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
And met my wife there. And
great campus, by the way. If
beautiful campus now.
Unbelievable.
And they've done so much now. I wish I could live on campus now.
I know. That'd be weird if we did that, though, right?
Yeah, we're a little bit too old to live on class.
No,
just
live
like
here.
The
environment to be like, all right, get out of here, buddy.
Get arrested and then moved on.
Where do you live? I live in San Diego State, dorm 6.
Not San Diego State dorms, right?
The domes. All right, keep going.
So, years went by, got my degree, have had the opportunity to work overseas, and then 10 years ago this month, got the opportunity to work for American Council on Exercise. And at the time, we were overseas, so we came back here. We were looking to move back. My wife is originally from California.
Okay.
And so this was an excellent opportunity. I knew of the organization because I had grown up or gone to university in San Diego, so I knew about the organization, knew what they did and some of the things that they've been involved in. And so the opportunity to really be on the front line in helping support and bringing education to the industry was one of my passions. And so it was, for me, it's a dream job. I get to wake up every day and do what I really like, which is helping people, supporting people, and bringing education to the industry.
Gotcha. So, ACE has obviously been one of the long-standing education certification companies. As you look at the industry and how the industry is kind of morphed, there's obviously a number of different certifications out there. ACE is a very trusted brand. So how do you think about, as you go into new markets and educate people, how you kind of take the legacy of ACE, but also, this new technology slant and, thinking more innovative?
For us, this is really an innovation and, as you said, but also an evolution. You mentioned that we have integrity and people look at us as an organization that's been around for a really long time. And it's about building on those foundational tenets of our organization. We've always wanted to collaborate and like to collaborate with like-minded organizations. We've always felt there's an opportunity to lead by example in what we do. And we want to make sure that the research and the education that we provide is evidence-based and is sound, because we understand in this industry there are many choices. both in what we see, but also the education that people decide they want to take. And our role is to really provide the best education we can. And as we evolve into an organization that looks into the future and what we can do there, it's about looking at those opportunities through social media, which has obviously become a really big part of what we do, through other like-minded organizations and some of the partnerships and opportunities, like some of the things we're going to be announcing here at URSA. And so our role is about collaborating and moving with the industry, but also being a leader, sometimes stepping out at the front. And also sometimes perhaps we followed in some areas as well and supported our fitness professionals. Because at the end of the day, if we do everything right, our fitness professionals, our health coaches are going to have the tools necessary to do what they want, and that really impacts everybody. And that's the fun stuff.
How do you think about internally, the empirical education and the platform that someone needs to be successful as a personal trainer or anywhere inside of our Halo ecosystem, and then arming them with those certifications and like, here's the revenue opportunity, or here's how you apply this and actually turn it into a career and not turn it into an academic exercise?
Sure. That's a great question, and something that I think many people look for when they come into the industry is they have a passion. And sometimes when you have a passion, maybe you don't plan what else after you get certified. And one of the most common questions that our teams get is, hey, I just got my certification. I'm super excited. Now what do I do?
Exactly.
What we do is we work with lots of different partners. We work with academic partners at colleges and universities. We work with industry partners to be able to provide more resources, more tools, and more education, so that it's not just a certification. It's about having the education and then getting the experience. And there's a number of different ways that we would do that. Through our app that we recently launched, we've created a really unique online community just for ACE-certified fitness professionals and health coaches that can be part of this app, that is this community, this ecosystem where they can ask questions of others who are 1 month, 2 month, 3 months ahead of them in that journey. And that's a really beautiful and rich opportunity for them to learn the things that probably it's all the stuff that we probably should have asked before we got into the business, but now we have an opportunity to help people with it.
Right. So what would you say is, do you track, we certified X amount of people. These people now work at these health clubs. They work at these studios. They're entrepreneurs, have run their own business. They become virtual, trainers. Or how do you think about
the different categories, the career paths.
Yeah.
So we think about career paths a little bit differently. I mean, we do track and we know how many of our certified fitness professionals and health coaches maybe work for a club. We do that through our surveys. But for us, it's about creating a career path that's tailored and individual. Just like we expect somebody to be able to work with a client and tailor that opportunity for them and that progression in their health and fitness related goals, what we want to be able to do is provide multiple opportunities for people who are in the business to decide what their career is. Perhaps they come in and they start out in a big box gym and they learn something and they decide they want to go in a different pathway. Perhaps they come into the business and they're a career changer, right? They've decided, hey, I worked for 20 years in a finance world. I was a group fitness instructor on the side, but now I've decided I want to look at that full time. And those individuals have very unique and different needs. And so through our partnerships and through our education, we're starting to be able to be more sophisticated in saying, let's help you with your career path. Do you want to specialize in an area? Do you want to work with a different group of people? Or what type of business do you ultimately want to run?
Yeah, and then just to drop, an announcement from the show here, we're a seed investor in Ryan's company, The Athlete Book, and ACE and Integrity Square, about to launch a very robust job platform to connect personal trainers and other people that want to get into the ecosystem and find career paths through the Athlete Book platform. So we're excited about that. When you look at, we got a lot of health club operators, a lot of studio operators listening to this podcast. Why would I go with ACE versus NASM, IFFA? Pick your poison on what certification you want, and how do we change the narrative in general in this industry that this is not about price. This is about long-term, whether it's, liability insurance, right? So
sustainability,
continuing education, and I'll stop and now you tell me.
we get asked that question, right? Why us versus some of our peer organizations, as we refer to them to? We always come back to what our foundation is. We're a non-profit organization whose mission is to get people moving. And if that mission rings true and is something people want to affix themselves to and associate themselves to, then we've got some incredible education to be able to help them move down that road. And so what we really focus on is creating an environment for our fitness professionals, whether it's through our partners or whether it's through our online programming, that really gives them the tools and the capabilities to be successful. And then they can get to, shape a little bit which way they go. One of the interesting things about our industry, which probably isn't something we see in the other industries, is many people might get certified through ACE, and then they might choose a different certification through another organization. And then they might come back to us and get
for a different,
sometimes the same, because they can broaden their education,
okay.
or they'll get a slightly different certification over here.
Gotcha.
And so for us, it's more than just education certification. It's also the continuing education piece. We
Gotcha.
approve a lot of our peer organizations' content because we recognize that perhaps you want to get education from some other organization that still helps support your foundational credential. And that way, we're able to allow a more breadth of education for people.
Gotcha.
So they create that path.
I want to take a minute and tell our audience about two awesome workout recovery products I've been using for the last 18 months from higherdose.com, leader in infrared technology for athletes like all of us are. We're an investor in the company. That's not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because it works. You got an infrared sauna blanket. I hop in there. I'll listen to some podcasts, burn 800 calories, get a mad detox. And a PEMF, which is a pulsed electromagnetic field crystal mat that I lay on, and I recalibrate my cells to the normalized level of the earth. If you got somebody you like and you're looking for a pretty awesome gift, they will love it. You could use this code HALO75, get $75 off, and you will not be disappointed. higherdose.com, promo code HALO75. And now let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
So let's just take a second and debunk a myth.
Okay.
Being a nonprofit doesn't mean you're not trying to make money. That doesn't mean you don't have internal goals and milestones and drives. So talk about internally for you coming into this organization, how you still think about what I want to produce, what I want to get, where I want to get to, and the fact that we're a nonprofit is basically, a tax classification. It's not how we run the business.
We're fully funded. We don't get funding from anywhere else, and so as a nonprofit, while many organizations are receiving grants and things, we don't do that. So at the end of the day, for us, we still operate the same way most businesses would do. We have to pay our staff and salaries and keep the lights on and pay for all of those costs. The difference is when we reinvest, it's not going to shareholders. It's not going to an organization that maybe is not as related to the company. When we reinvest in education. So it's the research that we're doing and the different studies that we've produced.
Right.
It's the programs that we're creating. That's important. And so when we talk about that nonprofit mission, it really is about reinvesting into our business so that we can provide more programs, more tools, and we can provide the evidence-based science through the research that we do to be able to perhaps debunk some of those myths people are thinking about. I mean, the fitness industry is famous, if you will, for a lot of interesting, let's say, modes, pieces of equipment, and philosophies. And our role is to really help give education for people to go, let me think of this and let me be a little bit more skeptical in my approach to the latest gadget, let's say.
Yeah. No, I think there's, even when you see some of these supplement ads and they make it seem like this is like FDA certified and it's got like in like 4 font in like Arial, narrow or something, like not approved by the FDA.
Right.
Or it's like, this personal training is, on your own, do this at your own risk, type of thing, right? Do you feel that there's a movement towards less confusion and like I just had Dr. Cooper on, and he's been saying, look, exercise is medicine. It's
Yes.
very simple. Food and supplements are fuel, just like you put in your car. You wouldn't put, leaded gas in your car. Do you feel that with ACE that you have like a clear, like, here's what we're going to train you. It's empirical. It's efficient. We're using technology, and people are not as confused about what they're doing, or members. I don't know if that's a question or just a thought.
It makes sense. And yes, we've gotten better at doing that. We use a process and a system. We have the IFT model, which is the integrated fitness training model that we use as a format, if you will, a template or a blueprint to help people when they're working with their clients to train them.
Okay.
We have a philosophy called the ACE Mover method, which really focuses on how to have engaging and powerful conversations with your clients when you're working with them and trying to unpack, if you will, where their focus and their goals are. And we're good at that. I think that we do that really well to be able to provide a framework for people to build out their own personality into that. And what I mean by that is in this world, in the fitness industry, there are a lot of, this is the program and everybody does it. It's a one size fits all. And that's not the case. We're incredibly complicated individuals, and we want those individual experiences. And through our programs, we recognize that and we say, hey, the client is the expert. They know themselves best. So our role is to work alongside them. Sometimes we might have to push them a little bit. Sometimes it's a bit of a carrot.
Right.
But we work alongside them to be able to help support them. Because ultimately, a successful trainer is the one who gives enough education to their client that their client can be successful when they're not in the gym with them.
Got it.
Right? And that model is a little bit different for some people. It's almost like if I put myself out of business as being a personal trainer, I'd be successful. I would also get a lot of other people saying, I really want some of that.
Right.
But creating that experience now and what we see coming through the pandemic is going to be more powerful than ever. That social interaction, that ability to relate with individuals. And what's interesting about the pandemic is we've all been through the experience.
Right.
But it's been all individual. Some of us have had a very challenging time. Others have fared better. But ultimately, the first connection is to be able to say, I can understand what it feels like to have gone through a pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting platform to start a conversation from.
Yeah, it's great. So talk about, your role and your objectives. So senior director, global business development.
Yes.
What are there specific countries that we're trying to penetrate on the ACE side, or just talk about, what you get up and think about every day?
I like to think about on a daily basis about where I'm going to spend my time, whether it is in Asia, whether it's in Europe. And I also am responsible for some of our domestic businesses as well. But really in the business development side, for us as an organization that collaborates with different organizations and looks for business opportunities, I'm working on a daily basis with our partners around the world. This week, I've already had a conversation this morning with someone in Beirut, in Lebanon. Actually, they're in Dubai at the moment. I spoke to somebody in England earlier on in the week, and we have just been texting to somebody in China. So we've got our partners in different parts of the world, and what we're doing is amplifying our mission in different parts of the world through these organizations. My role is to look for those opportunities, is to help build out those opportunities, evaluate to make sure that these opportunities are going to be a win-win-win, right? We want an opportunity that works for the end user, the fitness professional, and also us as an organization through our partners.
Gotcha.
So it's a couple of different stakeholders that I spend my time working with.
Gotcha. And then talk to us about, what are some of the initiatives besides the athlete book and international? What's the 2021 or 2022? This is what ACE is kind of focused on, whether it's a mission or whether it's like certain programming.
We have spoken for a while about the importance of creating a strong relationship through behavior change. Coming out of the pandemic, I think one of the loud messages we've heard from governments, we've heard from states, we've heard from health agencies, is about this mental health that people are experiencing, whether it's poor mental health or needing to just address mental health. And, in my presentation yesterday, I said, I don't want us to think about mental health. I want us to think about mental wellness, because mental health, if someone says they have a mental health problem, there's a bit of a stigma with that, certainly in many areas.
Well, I should think therapy was,
Right.
Because I only had one cousin that went to therapy, and he was a little bit
Right.
off the reservation back in the day. So my mom's like,
So
you're not going to
perspective.
go through therapy, you know, like cousin so-and-so. So I was always thought that it was not only a stigma attached to it, but like you were deep down a hole
Yes.
if you were going to therapy. Now I'd look at it as like, dude, it's like personal training for your brain.
Right. It's
So just go.
and it's another tool that you can use to put yourself back on track, to understand perhaps what some of the triggers are that are causing these issues. I mean, coming from England and coming from a British background, you know, therapy and counseling was a big no-no.
Right.
It's taken me
Exactly.
a good 10 years in this country to understand that it's much more normal here.
Right.
But for us, it's about talking about mental wellness, which is really about how we can have a conversation with somebody, accepting that, you know, in this case, if I'm working with you, you're the expert in your life.
Right.
My goal is to really help you facilitate healthy behavior changes so you can make the right decisions, the right choices, and be the most successful person you want to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that's free. I mean,
You're right.
It's
I mean, I think everybody needs a life coach. Everybody needs to bounce things off of someone. Keeping it inside just doesn't work. And, you know, when I was growing up, I used to, when I'd get into a fight, you know, my parents, or I'd get in trouble, I used to go into my room, lock the door, and rearrange the furniture. That was like my therapy session was like interior design.
Sure.
I don't know why. But, you know, that didn't, you know, that kind of just bubbles up to the point where you got to get it out.
I thought you were going to say, like I was a kid, I would go in and rearrange the furniture in my room, but I think I went about it a little differently. Often that furniture was broken when I was a kid.
I never went violent interior design, but
yeah, I moved a few things around. I remember once my parents, I blocked the door, and 2 hours later I came out and they were sitting there reading the magazines quietly, and I realized at that point they took that 2 hours as peacetime, and I was in there fuming. But, you know, you mentioned something about that's important to understand. We talk about stress levels, is when we are stressed, and lots of things stress us, but when we're frustrated and angry, we're also very close to other opportunities, and we're close to making the right decisions. And we live in this world of fear and anger and anxiety so much that when you sit down with somebody and you say to them, you know, what do we want to talk about today? That can be so enlightening and refreshing for them to go, oh. And that's part of what we do when we're changing behaviors, is saying, you know, it's okay to feel humiliated in this situation. It's okay to feel scared in this situation. Let's find something that we can focus on, and we might use a technique where we say, let's picture what the future looks like. You're in this perfect environment in the future. When you have that in your head, how do we work backwards to get you to start today to do something that gets you one step towards that ideal, that perfect you? And that's
I thought that whole vision,
change.
you know, like those vision boards that, you know, people put together on bulletin board, I think they're amazing. And it's just like, you know, it's like doing like a paper collage. But you really have to visualize where you want to be in order to get there, just like, you know, everything in life.
As an adult, you have to be comfortable, right? As kids, we have these dreams all day long. But by the time we get to, 18, we're probably pretty cynical. We've been told, no, you can't do that. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get everything you want type of thing. So you have somebody who walks in and, as a typical individual's been working for 10 years, is struggling a little bit. Maybe it's even hard for them to have a vision. And one of the things I used to say working with my clients is, I want you to dare to think differently. What would that look like? If you won the lotto today, how different would your life be? And when people start to think about, you know what, I can make these changes. When people come to us and they say, I'm in pain, that's not normal. But if you're 60 years old and you're in pain, you might just think it's just normal for you. Or maybe you don't want to bother anybody. We hear that, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to bother you. It's and so part of about building that relationship with people is understanding what their goals are. And then our role is to help remove those barriers so that they can be successful.
And I will say that as you think about people who have either, gotten laid off, gotten fired, changed jobs, there's rarely a person that says, I wish I had my old job back. Rarely. Almost 99 out of 100 times someone's like, hey, I got out of this and now I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, or thankfully I got out of there. Should have got out of there 2 years ago or something, and I got a new opportunity. So I agree with you. One, you got to be able to talk through it with someone.
Right.
Two, mental health is kind of like guide your physical health, because you got to be motivated to do what you want to do, inside and outside of a fitness center.
And that's a good point. When people have gone through this very traumatic event for them, their families, yes, there's a mourning period, right? We understand that people have to go through that. But hopefully when they come out on the other side, they feel that there is a bit of a silver lining. I mean, we're not out of this yet. Many people are still having a really hard time, and they haven't found a job, or they're still trying to struggle to figure out how they're going to pay the rent. So we as very fortunate individuals in the industry of what we do when we have jobs, we always have to keep in mind that, that could have been us. It's often it's the luck of the draw that we are not the ones that had to go down that road. And for me, if I can help somebody through our education or through our programs, then hopefully they can pass that on. And it really is about passing it on.
Yeah. So in that vein, Anthony, thanks for coming on your first Halo Talks. Thanks for helping change the world a little bit at a time here. One person at a time, one country at a time, and one program at a time. So look forward to partnering up with you and your team there and doing great things.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. Thanks for coming on.